Alright, in this video then, we're going to go back to the server side and do some more coding because now we have to receive the messages Angular 8 is sending us from the front end, right? You will have a lot of clients connected from your Angular application and sending messages to this server. So the first thing we have to do is to set to socket.io how to receive a new connection. This is the way we do it, right? io.sockets.on, and we are listening for events. And the first event we're going to listen to is the event with the string connection, right? As simple as that. That is going to send us an object. The name is socket, right? And inside this function, once we have a new connection, which is stored into the socket variable, we will add it to our array of connections. Remember, in the first videos, we defined it upstairs, in the upper part of this class, of this file, a couple of arrays. One is with the connections we have, and another one is with the users connected. So we are going to push inside this array a new object that we receive from socket.io. And then we are going to show to the console just as a debug process. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but we're going to print that a new user is connected and the total of users we have. How do we know the total of users? Well, we just get the size of this array. Pay attention, if you're using this component in the future for millions of users and you're pushing into an array, you will get an out of memory or something like that error in your server because it's too much information. So think about adding those to a database or something like that, or add more memory to your server. All right, the next thing we're going to do once the user is connected, we're going to send a message to all the connected users saying that the total number of users has just changed in our server. Now we have one more connection available. So on your client side, Angular, in your front end, you maybe want to refresh the number of total users connected in your chat. Right, all right. You see the two variables there, the two arrays there, So we are getting the total number of users, and we are going to inform like this with this line. We're going to emit a new message, a new string. Remember, this string, the first parameter, its variable says new connection, but remember, it was a string we're sending to Angular. That's it. You can add that there, any string you want. That's really your choice. And the second parameter is the information we are sending. In this case, is going to be the total numbers we have. All right. Once we do that, the next thing to do is I'm pasting this code because it's too long to write it, but I will explain it to you. We're going to listen for another event we will receive from socket.io. Every time you write socket.on, it's because a new event occurs in socket.io. The second event we will have from socket.io, it's the event with the name disconnect. That happens when a user closes the web browser or it has no internet connection or something like that. So if we receive that, we will have to remove that connection from our array. All right, if you don't have an array, you will want to remove it from the database, or you want to change the state in your database if you're not using arrays here. So the first thing we're doing here in this case, because we're working with arrays, because we're not expecting too many users, it's just remove it from there. Then we're going to go through the arrays of users we have here, and we will look for the user we are interested in and remove it from that array. Why we are doing a for loop? Well, because we have more than one element in our object user. So we need to grab only the property username and compare it with the user it's just about to disconnect. And once we have it there, we just remove with splice, we remove it from the array. If you don't know what splice is, go to the documentation of JavaScript and you will see that you remove something from that. And I tell you again here, don't do this if you have millions of users, because this loop, it may take you a little bit longer or heavy to do. We can put a break there to break the for loop once we remove the user. This is pretty simple, but you get the idea, right? So we just print in our console on the server side that a user is disconnected, and now we have this total amount of user, right? Always refer to the size of the array. Then we invoke two methods. One is update total users connected. We will remove this method. We're not going to use this method update usernames, the method you see below. Don't pay attention to that. I will remove that. And if you don't write it, because we're not going to use that, I'm going to write this function update total users connected. I will grab the code and I will paste it here. It's a simple function. What it's going to do is going to just send to all the connected users in our socket a message. I will send from the server to all the clients using the string new message from server. Right there. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to send to all users in the socket a new message saying we have a new connection, right? Okay. For my next video, I will remove that function update usernames because we're not using it. It's going to give you an error if you try to run the server with that. Let me just grab here. Everything is all right. Yes. And here. All right, another event I want to control when we receive a new message from clients, right? Remember, the string in this variable, new message, is something we are sending from Angular 8. Any client connected with Angular 8 to this socket will send us a message, which is from the previous video, which is there, right? So that information is going to come here. Do you remember we are sending two inside data? We will have two properties. One is the name of the user, and the other one is the message we are receiving, right? So we are printing that on the server side in the console, and then we are going to send it back to all the users. With this line you see here in the 109, this one, we're going to send to all the users this message, which says new message from server. You can change this and use whatever you want, right? But the idea is to receive a message from one of the user and send it back to all the connected users in our socket. So everybody's going to know that they have a new message from a defined user and with defined message. The only thing we need to do is to read this variable and print the message or do whatever we want with that message, right? I'm just showing you here that the same object socket is the one we receive from socket IO, right? It's an internal variable. All right, let me just check here. All right. Remember, you need to stop this server and run it again to see any changes. We are ready to test now all together, Angular and this. Let's do it in the next video.